Dylan, what do we know about the deal struck with Oracle and TikTok, and why should all Americans, even non-TikTok users, care about this?
Sure. The key part of this deal, which is different, I think, from the deal we were all anticipating, certainly you and I were anticipating the last time we talked, is that this deal would make Oracle TikTok's technology partner. That is different from Oracle buying TikTok outright. This effectively structures it as such that TikTok would basically store U.S. user data, which would quell national security concerns about what ByteDance, which owns TikTok, might do with that user data, or more to the point, what the Chinese government might do with user data. The problem with that deal is that it doesn't necessarily satisfy what President Trump and the White House want, which is an outright sale of TikTok's U.S. business to a U.S. buyer. And so, this is the kind of thing, Stephanie, where, we're at the 11th hour of this deal, and normally you would say, okay, great. ByteDance has chosen a buyer in the United States, or has at least chosen a partner in the United States. They worked out the terms of that agreement. It satisfies national security concerns. This deal is going to go through. But as you and I know, TikTok is really a pawn in a much larger geopolitical struggle between China and the United States. And this deal doesn't satisfy what President Trump specifically has called for. So I would say that there's probably still a little room to run on this.
All right, so then let's talk about who wins here. Oracle, why Oracle? Microsoft was the front runner, and we have to remember Larry Ellison, close ties to President Trump. Safra Catz, ties to Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump.
There's no question here, if you know the players involved, that the ties that Larry Ellison has, that Safra Catz has to President Trump and to this White House, those become very apparent now, and their ability to sort of milk those ties in order to win this deal, I think, are obvious to all. At the same time, what I would say is that Larry Ellison and Oracle were after something different than what Microsoft might have been after. Microsoft, I think, went into these negotiations from the start anticipating a full-on sale, that they were going to buy TikTok's U.S. business, and that they could then use that to enter what is a very competitive social media market that includes obviously Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Snapchat. It is a very different thing what Oracle wanted, which is what they're getting, which is to basically be the cloud services provider and put their cloud services provider on the map. And that has less to do with competing with the US tech giants or Chinese social media giants, and more to do with competing with cloud service providers, in this case, like Amazon.
Okay, so Oracle wins here, but doesn't China win too? This ban on TikTok could come as soon as next week. And as you said before, President Trump was saying it needed to sell operations to a U.S. company. That's not happening. Has President Trump said anything about that? Because that's a killer detail. China ends up winning here.
Right. So if this deal were to go through, China does end up winning, because what effectively happened is a couple weeks ago, China said, we are not comfortable with a deal where TikTok has to sell its valuable algorithms, its valuable source code to the United States. ByteDance looked at that and said, okay, because at the end of the day in China, the Chinese government calls the shots. China only wins, though, if President Trump goes ahead and okays that deal himself. The alternative, of course, would be an outright ban on TikTok's U.S. business. And then we go back to this larger geopolitical standoff we've been involved in since day one.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.